Hey there, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jamie, and we're your co-hosts for Two Clicks in a Pod.
Join us as we explore our missed times, stories, and memories due to divorce and a 1,000-mile separation.
I can't wait. You ready to get into it, Kev?
I am. Hey, Jamie, you think they're going to swear?
Oh, yeah. Consider yourselves warned.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie.
Hey, and I'm Kevin.
And this is Two Clicks in a Pod. Welcome back if you're joining us again. In our last episode, Dad and I took the time to share our personal intentions for 2025 and discovered that we both had a primary focus on our health and fitness. So joining us to discuss their own health and fitness journey and how they're helping others in that initiative are the co-founders of Glow Wellness Retreats, Kara McKean and Ashley Fraebel. Welcome,
Hello.
ladies.
Hi, guys.
Hello, girls.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So
Thanks
I'll
for joining.
answer the question for some of our repeat listeners. You may be wondering, is this the Kara, the OG crew Kara? And yes, it is. So we're kind of doing something fun here with a long-term friend, but wanting to hear more about what she and Ashley are up to. So I'll turn it over to you ladies. Kara, you want to lead us off with an introduction, and then we can pass it over to Ashley?
Sure. So yeah, guilty as charged. You've heard my name probably pop up a couple times. Jamie and I go way back for high school, right? High school and 15, 16 years old.
I was doing the mental math today when I was preparing, and just get ready for this. It's going to blow your mind. Okay. We've officially known each other for more than half of our life now, I think. So that's a little scary to think about, but time flies when you're having fun.
I love it. I always like to think that you're going to be in my life longer, right, than I didn't know you. So that's always
I think you got me. I think you got it locked in.
I locked you in. So I am coming from a few different backgrounds, but I'm a teacher and an artist and just have had a overwhelming desire to learn about wellness, about our own wellness and health and how to improve all of those things. And over the last few years, we have really kind of honed in on those things. I've done a ton of research and I've just had like a huge interest in the whole arena. And then Ashley and I have had some similar situations that have happened. We've had some differences, but just overall, with Glow in the last kind of couple years, we've started to get together with our friends. We've started to put together these like wellness situations where we benefit. We get to see our friends and we get to do something really positive for ourselves. And we kind of like put it all together in one situation because it's really hard to do that with time. And so that's kind of where Glow has come from. And Ashley and I are really excited about kind of seeing where that goes. So that's kind of my background. I mean, I'm an athlete. I wouldn't say like I'm an amazing athlete. Like I always liked sports. Like I played tennis and, you know, I've always like dabbled in things. Like, am I where I am now? If you would ask me 20 years ago, absolutely not. Like this is like post 2020, I would say. I mean, Jamie, you know, you've kind of seen me along the years and I've always liked Pilates or I've liked yoga and I've always like tried to stay on the healthier side. But as far as like my attention to wellness, it over the last probably 5 years is really, really focused in.
Yeah. And let me turn it over to Ashley and just a little bit of background geography. We always like to talk about geography. I don't know why it's such a focus for me, but Kara, you're based out of Maitland, Florida, which is where you and I both grew up, Maitland Winter Park, and Ashley also grew up there, but you are currently, Ashley, joining us from a different location. So you're now based out of Asheville, North Carolina. So tell the listeners a little bit about you. And again, your background's very similar to Kara's, but a little different in how you really started focusing, I think, and making health and, you know, fitness a priority in your life.
Sure. So obviously Kara's my sister. I'm just a little bit younger, and I obviously got to grow up with Kara and Jamie. But yeah, so I'm in Asheville, North Carolina currently. I've been here for about 2 years. I was in Winter Park before that. And my health journey started more in like my 20s. I was personally having some health issues and things like that. So I started diving into researching like the holistic side of things. So I got a certification in holistic health at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And then I went through my 200 Yoga Teacher Alliance training at Full Circle Yoga in Winter Park. And that experience just was really enlightening and really just changed me for many things. It gave me this new confidence that I had for myself. And I think then that helped carry me through to meet new experiences and people. So I had that side, but I went to school for marketing and event management. So now with, always having the yoga and the health interest in mind, and then taking my event and marketing background, we've now found like this really nice unison with Glow. And so taking those experiences and trying to implement them into this new company. But obviously, like Kara said, health journeys are a journey, just like anything. There's ups and downs and pivots, and motherhood happened, and that changed things for me. And wellness looked different then than obviously it did in my 20s. And then now with a little bit older children and new health things, and post 2020, a shared experience that Kara and I both had that really, I feel like, jet setted us into this wellness world was, our mom did have early onset Alzheimer's and ended up passing away in 2020. So it really, when you have those experiences, you have this mirror in front of you, the self-reflection to be like, what am I doing to live my best life? And, making decisions to help yourself be healthy, so that then trickles into your family, into your friends. And so we really had that kind of inspiration to kickstart us. And then we saw this need in our community for wellness and for women to come together, especially to make time for themselves. And so seeing that need, we were just like, this is a thing, right? Like, people need this. And so that's kind of where the idea came from. And then the more we've talked with our friends and community, we were just able to slowly implement and start the idea of Glow.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm glad you both highlighted that. I was going to say, I think it's important to note you're both, working moms. This is something, just as Dad and I, we had, when we talk about 2 Clicks and us investing time and all this, we say, this is our hobby. Like, we're doing this for fun right now. Right. We both work. Obviously, Dad's a entrepreneur, business owner, and has been for many, many years. And still very much active in his business. I'm working, I'm a parent. So I think it's important to note that just the stages you're in, you're both moms, both working, and starting this thing out. But yeah, thanks for the introduction. So maybe we dive in more. I want to get a little bit more background on, you highlighted Glow, but maybe give us the elevator pitch, what is Glow Wellness Retreats? And then we'll dive in more into that and your experience in launching this.
Ash, you were doing such a good
job. So, I'm like, is that, yeah, sorry.
I have a question for Ashley as well, as you're pulling that together. I think the word I've heard a lot from both of you, but Ashley from Asheville, you've used the word community a lot. If you could maybe just in your description highlight, obviously a group of friends is what I heard from Kara, group of friends from you, but when you say community, that's a broader reach than just a group of friends. So if you could maybe, in your explanation there,
right.
obviously you're developing a community that has the same want and the same need. You did answer my first question, by the way, is what motivates, and I heard the motivation. So yeah, I'd like to hear some more as well, but real curious on what community means to that in this operation.
Yeah, so the mission really is to empower, for us right now is women in the community, to bring them together with these customizable wellness retreats to experience, this coming together in their homes, focusing on health, their well-being, self-care, movement, reflection. So you've got like the mind, body, spirit element to it. Being a women-owned company right now, that's where this focus for women really, I think, plays into it, because we feel the need and we see the need within our friend group, but also beyond, because, we'll speak to a friend and they're like, well, we have a friend, and then they have a friend. So that goes beyond just our little niche. That goes into a broader community, seeing that it's not just us. There is a need, whether, right now it's in Winter Park, but I think it's everywhere that women especially need this time to come together and focus on themselves. And we're hoping by creating or curating these wellness retreats, it allows people or the women to come together, to take time for themselves and rejuvenate and connect, without having to leave their home. So that's kind of what makes us a bit more unique right now, is like, we want to bring these wellness experiences to you. So we're eliminating kind of that, like, oh, well, where do I go and how do I do this? And, where do I even begin? You call or you text us and you're like, I want to do this. I've seen this on your Instagram, or I think I want to host this. And we're like, well, what are your goals? Is it strength? Is it, more of a relaxation, or is it yoga? And we're able to kind of curate by using our resources, this event for the women to come together and have this time for themselves and for their wellness journey.
Can I
So Dad, you asked the question about community. Like, what I hear is you almost, as you do these things, you identify and develop this community, right? So your community started with a small friend circle, and as you're doing more, that's growing. So community, in the sense, it sounds to me like literal geographic community, because right now you're growing something fresh in Central Florida. But what I have found through our community, our friendship circle, is the ability to just find comfort in like-minded people that want to talk about this stuff. Because I think sometimes you feel like, am I alienating someone that just doesn't care to talk about their health? Maybe they're very unhealthy, and you recognize that. So they don't want to talk about it because it may scare them where they're at. And I have found, just in, joining the new gym that I joined, it's like, it really feels like a community in there, like a group of, and it's all women. So maybe this is an all women thing. Sorry, Dad. But there is something about it. It's like, they're all very friendly. There's no mirrors. Everyone's talking, and not just about the workout, but just about stuff, and it does feel very safe, and it feels like a community. So I hear that as you talk, that it started small, but it sounds like the goal is to grow into this larger thing.
And that's the thing, Jamie, so, we're not creating the idea. I mean, you go to a gym and you go to whatever, spin class, and you start going a lot, you are going to create a community, right? That's why people continue to go to those places. Part of it is, it's a great workout, but you're seeing this person and this person. I think how we differ is that a lot of the things, because it's in your home, because it's friends or friends of friends, it's creating this safe intimate space, and a lot of the things that we are doing are a little out of people's comfort zone sometimes, right? So sometimes it's like you're talking about like feelings and how stressed you are, or like this last Saturday we did an ice bath and there was 13 women, and I will say 2 out of the 13, there are only 2 that had ever done an ice bath before. The other 11 had never done it, and they're all cheering each other's on, but we're in bathing suits. And it's like, we felt comfortable to be in that space with each other. Like, yeah, do it. You can do 2 minutes. You got this. Go, go, go. You can stay. Because we were in, and even though in that case, there were some women who I didn't know, who I'd never met, but they were friends of friends, and it created that safe space for them to be able to experience something new, to put themselves out there. So that's, I think, where we're trying to create that community. And that's why we like doing it in people's homes as well, is because there's already a sense of comfort. There's already a sense of warmth. And that's how we're trying to differentiate a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that this is like, where an individual will host one of these parties and then invite their friends. And then from that, obviously, and friends that you would not know, to where that community expands, no differently than Jamie and I trying to get listenership on this show to come in, actually create our community. So I totally get that. And that is very unique for sure. Kind of like, an in-house massage service where they come in and they bring it, they set it up, and then everybody just rolls in there, and you've got a masseuse that's given 6 massages for the evening, or a Botox party. That's right. This is a wellness party of and I think the ice bath is kind of a unique, out of the box, quick hitter right there to say, well, who would even think of having an ice bath? So that's amazing, because that is a good, it's kind of like the cold plunging, in the spas and whatnot that you do. Right. So very
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, exactly. Dad, I got to ask you, have you ever done one of these ice baths? Or what is the right term? Cold plunge, ice bath. What would you say? Cold plunge?
Cold plunge.
Have you done one, Dad?
Just the one out at the lake when it was that cold plunge day.
Right. Like, meaning you jumped into the lake when it was really cold outside.
Yeah, I just have to walk outside here today, and I'm in 14-degree weather, so that's cold.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I saw Kara obviously posted on Instagram they were doing these at a recent party, and I haven't done one, but I've listened about them, and you hear about the cryo chambers as well. So I just had never talked to you about that. I was curious if you would ever.
I mean, and people have been doing this forever. This isn't anything new. I mean,
but you are hearing about it a lot. Like, you're hearing about all these benefits of the, the cold to the sauna and the, doing them together. And, and I've got a good friend up here that just loves going and sitting in the sauna.
I love a sauna. I mean, and that's, I think the other part is that we're trying to bring, there are cases where you can go to really expensive, fabulous, I'm sure, resorts, right? Where you get all these opportunities. You go and do your med bath, and you go and do your sauna, and but not everybody can do that. And as moms, it's really hard for us to, shoot, Jamie, how hard is it for us to schedule our girls' weekend every year? It's hard to be able to get away, right? And so to say by the way, guys, hey, I'm out for the weekend, I'm at the spa, like, that just, in my life, that doesn't work. But I could say, hey, I'm going to be gone from 9 to 1, and in 9 to 1, I'm going to see my friends. We're going to have community conversation, which is also a huge thing for brain health. I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to have a delicious snack. I'm going to talk to, other people about the juices and the food that I'm eating. Oh, and by the way, I'm also going to try a cold plunge. I've always wanted to try. I never have, and I get to this time. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very stressful, because I always do that when I go into a spa. When we go to Cabo, they have one of those cold pool plunges after the steam room. Steam room works for me, and then I've done that cold pool plunge, I think, one time, and that was enough. So I do like the fact that you're there holding me accountable to, follow through after the hot sauna and get into the cold bath. So that's pretty cool too, because you're not going to not do it when everybody else is doing it. So that's
right. We had a couple people this last Saturday who had never done it, and they were like, all right, they gave in. We're like, we're going to do it. And they felt amazing afterwards. They felt so good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and when you're with people too, you can drive off that competitive spirit. So like, if Kara's getting that cold plunge and I'm there's no way I'm not getting that cold plunge.
Oh, no.
I may not want to do it, but I'm not going to let her shame me for the rest of my life because I didn't. It's kind of like hiking doing that beehive hike in Maine. Can't not do it.
That's how we ended up on the side of a mountain, barely trying to figure out how to get ourselves down. No,
very uncomfortable.
Kara brought up that she's an athlete because she's going to shame you if you don't do it. You know? That's what all athletes do.
That's pretty much what would happen if all of us got in a cold plunge. It'd be like, well, who's going to get out first? Are you going to get out?
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you going to get out first?
It becomes a competition. I can see
right.
that.
That's right.
Oh
man. So if I did have a question other than being motivated, so you both have a job. I'm curious to know, Ashley, with being in North Carolina and you're running this now in Maitland or in Florida, are you commuting back and forth for those events, or do you have something going on in Carolina as well, Florida?
No, right now it's just in Central Florida, and I'm a little bit of the gal behind the curtain right now, helping more on the operations side, marketing, strategy, partnership. So before moving up here, my background, obviously, like I said, I taught at Full Circle Yoga. I worked for the Winter Park Chamber. So I have some of these relationships with people prior to this venture that I feel like have, helped us out. I work for a digital marketing company, and some of our clients with them are now also like some of our partners. So currently I'm in Asheville. I'm just helping Kara facilitate the planning and organizing side of it. And then Kara is the boots on the ground.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So do you obviously have your first job, family and children, and your second job, are you working a job as well professionally on, I guess, the side of this as well? That's why you're in North Carolina, I assume?
Yeah, so my husband's job brought us up here. So for the past couple years, I've worked for a digital marketing company. I have my real estate license from in Florida, so I use that little area of expertise to assist some of the agents here in town. So I just kind of have my hands in lots of pots. It kind of keeps my brain going and keeps me going. So staying busy. And it's kind of mom life, right? Like a working mom, we have a lot of hats.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious, you guys both are obviously, this is your brainchild, you started this, but you're not doing all of these activities, right? So how do you, when you're hosting a party, who's actually, if it's a yoga session, who's leading that? If it's talking about someone's getting brought in because they say, hey, we want to spend 30 minutes learning about better nutrition. So who is leading those conversations, and how are you finding them and bringing them into this, like kind of going behind the scenes on the business side of it? I'm curious how that works.
So it's funny, part of when Ashley and I started talking about this, we were like, God, we know a lot of wellness providers. We're like, we had a pool, and that was kind of a no-brainer in a way at first. Like, Ashley obviously had connections with the Full Circle Yoga. I go to Full Circle Yoga. I'm a member there. So we had, kind of tapping into some of our favorite teachers over at Full Circle. Hey, would this be something, because there's only so many slots, so many teaching spots that you can at a studio. So when they're not teaching, would you be interested in coming to someone's home and doing this? Like, what do you think about that, right? And then from there, that's where Ashley and I have really, okay, who else do we know? Who can we put our name behind? Who do we want to say, I know them, we trust them, we know what they do? And we had, our hairdresser is fabulous. We love her so much, but she also wears multiple hats. I mean, I've been going to Lauren, my hairdresser, for 11 years, but she also is a yoga teacher, and she also is a life coach and has wanted to pursue this side of her business as well. And so we've grouped her in, and it just kind of word of mouth as well. Like, I will say I wasn't complaining when I had to go try, the holistic facialist. I had to go try her out. So, just everybody was raving about her. And I was like, I'll take one. I'll take one for the team. It's fine. I'll go see how it is. But that's where we've just in the last month, last couple months, like this slow rollout of let's try some different people. Let's see how this goes. This person was recommended to us. Let's communicate with them. And so we want people, if they hire us, if they hire Glow, because you could do it yourself. Like, you could go and call, like you're saying, you can call a masseuse to come to your house. You could call, there's party planners that do things. But also the idea with us is that all of our vendors are vetted. We know them. We have a relationship with them. We speak highly of them. We go to them ourselves. And so that's what we've been working on.
Yeah, but I see this, like you say, with the networking opportunities that you've experienced or that you guys have, and I'd be curious to get a little bit, maybe better understanding of how one of these events happen or what goes on. But I can imagine that there is somebody that, there's a yoga instructor there, there's a wellness benefactor there is a nutritionist there. I would think that there'd be many camps going on. And so maybe a little bit of the details of, so what is a typical day or night, and what's the schedule there? I mean, how much time does it consume, or how many people, is there a minimum of who you'll do it for? And, do you get a charcuterie board included, or, I mean, what is it? What are you drawing straws for who gets this and who gets that?
No.
Is Meredith making the charcuterie board? That's what Dad really wants to know. If Meredith is making them.
She would.
Yeah,
she would.
So great question. So right now, the clients who are interested in hosting a Glow event have been reaching out to us, and then we kind of vet them as well and see what their goals are, when they want it, what time of day. So currently we've had we probably have about 4 setups right now. So an evening event, which is kind of like our new happy hour. So that's a couple hours. And so you could choose whether you want a yoga session, or maybe it's a bar session. And then, or maybe it's
exercise
or strength training. So that's kind of the body work. So that will be led by a professional. And then normally there's a little intermission, a little break, and we can provide mocktails or light bites, etc. So we bring that in from a catered source. So right now our partners are with Fit Living Eats and Grounding Roots Juice. So those are 2 community partners, also highly women owned. And those have been vetted. And so we give the option to the client, here are some options. What food or beverages would you like? So we're curating that as well. And then the evening could end with just a, breathing or sound bowl or a women's circle. So that's a couple hour event in the evening. The Saturday morning, we can do kind of a rise and shine. Again, same thing, where it could be a couple hours where, again, you're picking your physicality element, and then food, same thing. What Kara was talking about last Saturday was more of a half-day retreat. So because the cold plunge and the heat element, that takes time. So Again, this client reached out to Kara. She said she would like to have more of a half-day type retreat. She spoke with her about kind of the look and feel of how she wanted it to go down. And so then we reached out to our list of vendors to pull together the yoga, the food and beverage element, and then the cold plunge and the heat element. And Kara also orchestrated, Kara being an artist as well, made really pretty cards that each woman got to take home, and that was kind of their affirmation card. So again, we're really hand curating each event depending on the needs of the client. We're also set up to do full day if that is what someone might like. Let's say for like a really big birthday or a really big celebration, we could do that as well. So again, you're just then adding in additional elements to build this package, depending on what the client's goals and wants are and the time frame that they're wanting it to happen.
Yeah. So it's not like or maybe it is like a catering event where you have a list of menu items that that you can that you have available. I would guess. Yeah. So, and I'm assuming a dunking booth's not one of those, but that would really be cool to have a dunking booth as a cold plunge. But the other thing that I would think would be difficult is, the space that you would walk into within the home. Is there enough space to put 8 people out there on the floor and have a yoga session? I mean, that in itself is a little bit of a consideration. So there's a lot more than what meets the eye of just having a group of women get together and
so that's another question.
To do those kind of things. Yeah.
When we talk to them, we're like, well, what's your goal? Like, do you have space for yoga? If not, well, do you have space for breathing exercises or for, at one of the client events we had the holistic facialist come and a reflexologist come. And so, we kind of took over one of the bedrooms and turned it into a spa-like atmosphere. So again, it's really just getting to know the client and what they're wanting and needing, and then knowing our partners and what they can provide and being able to curate that event for them. So we are essentially like wellness event planners for, these different people.
Gotcha.
I'm curious. So you guys have done a handful of these now. Like what's the feedback been like? What reception are you getting? Not just from your hosts that are, the ones working with you, but how are the people who are leaving? Like, what are you hearing from them? Is it mixed? Or is everyone like, this is great?
I mean, it's funny because we had again, we're talking about that event on that we had this past Saturday. We've done that, like Ashley was saying, with the reflexology and the facials. I think, for the most part, it's been very positive. It's been like, oh my God, I needed that. I left feeling so good. Like, thank you for making me take time for myself. I really needed that. I would say that's probably the majority. I will say what we've been also figuring out, these are all like really good questions that you guys are asking us, is logistics, because women, everybody is like, we got 1,000 things going on, right? So even though we've designated this time to ourselves, I would say time is still the commodity, right? So it's like, okay, so what time are we starting? Okay, what time is this over? Hey, we're trying to, what kind of schedule are we trying to keep? And those have been like a big learning thing for us over this last, couple months, is like, okay, well, how long do they actually take? And we got to factor in, people don't ever really show up at 9:00. They show up at 9:15 and 9:20, right? So now we say, okay, well, now actually we start at 8:40. Right. And so it is like, so these like little tweaks here and there, I think, has been our feedback. Hey guys, just like maybe move the snacks to after, because once we start eating snacks and socializing, no one wants to stop. Right. So, hey, what if we, right. It's just the scheduling things that I think have been constructive feedback for us. And we're taking those into account.
Well, it's like anything, you got to do it 5 times and you learn hopefully one lesson from each,
right.
And then you get to incorporate it. And those, it's always good. It's like, as much as you want things to be perfect,
Yeah.
The silver lining, I think, is you just have to walk out going, hey, it was 80% great, and we learned 20% of really good stuff for the next one.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's anything in life. So
Right. And I think also just like setting expectations for the host, setting expectations for the people that are coming in, like, hey, here's what we're trying to do today. Like our goal is this. Our goal is that you're going to leave feeling refreshed. My goal is to take the stress off the host. And that's things that I've been trying to figure out being on like the ground level. Like, what are more things that I can take off the host so that they would want us to come back? Right? Like, so that's part of the reason why we do the food. Like, we do girls' nights here, and like everyone's like, we're supposed to be there at 6:00, and at 5:55, we're all like, what are we bringing? Like, should we order something? Right. Like, this is a hot mess, right? So, hey, we're gonna go ahead and take care of the food for you. You don't have to worry about it, right? We're gonna go ahead and take care. You need yoga mats, like that's something else. We've been like, hey, we probably need to buy some yoga mats because no one can ever find a yoga mat, right? So it's just these little organizational timeline, like things like that we've gotten feedback on. Would you say, Ash?
Yeah.
So go ahead, Dad. You're about to say
my thoughts, girls, on that, Kara, is, I feel just from my experience of failed opportunities, as I call them, things that you hoped to pan out that didn't pan out. It's always because either my menu is too large or my services are too big. You found your niche, to where it's cool that's something that needs to happen. But I think until you get a routine identified for the 2-hour window to say, we can handle a group of 5, number one.
Right.
This is the space, we can only bring 5. So let's bring 5. Let's come in there, and we're gonna have a stretching room. We're gonna set one of the bedrooms up for stretching or yoga or whatever it is. And, pick a list of core things that you have and just kind of run through that a little bit so that everybody's moving. You have your community gathering, but once you kind of just kick it off and, as the host, you're taking care of it, you're explaining and I'm sure the agenda is, what the schedule is going to be. Better yet, even before they get there, it's like going to spin class. After 5 minutes, the door's locked. You don't get to get into the spin class.
Yeah.
So you need to, I'm just saying, there's a lot of time invested on your guys' part, that when it comes the day of the show and people are late showing up, I mean, that's cutting into your ROI. You're not making anything on that time. You're just losing your daytime.
Yeah.
But I think if you just could figure out, I was going to ask another question about yoga, but that's for later. But if you just have, if you just have some specific, like going to the gym and running around 5 stations, you're going to hit the station, you're doing your weight, you're doing your shoulders, and you're going to hit 5 machines. I think that would be cool. And not everybody has to do that all at once. And maybe that helps you use the facility. It would be awesome. And I read that in your response to the questions. If you had your own freaking studio to where, you did have as you do with the gym, you've got your yoga room, you got your spin room, you've got your deep plunge room, but not everybody can get in a bathtub all at once in your plunges. You got to do it one at a time. So what are they doing when they're waiting on the plunge? So I haven't heard anything on that, but I think the more structured you are, that does set expectations for you, for your guests that you're hosting, because they need to be aware of that, because you are running on a schedule and you're trying to make it a happy experience.
Right.
And you don't want to get caught in the middle of, like you say, eating knickknacks and just chatting, and then the schedule gets out of hand and you're there all freaking morning or all day.
Right.
So
yeah,
but I mean, I think the concept is amazing, number one, because I can see, the one thing if I was hosting one, the first thing I want a stretching class, because everybody does not stretch, and yoga is a stretching operation as well. But you know how us guys are, we don't really think a whole lot about yoga. And I have an ex-wife that was a yoga instructor, but because she.
Those were fun times.
My point is, she didn't know what else she wanted to do, so it was always
Yeah.
something. It went from being a welder to a yoga instructor to a personal trainer. I mean, it was around the block and back. But anyway, we'll have to cut that out, James.
No, we're leaving that. That's okay.
So I mean, and I know everybody, it's so funny how yoga gets such a bad rap at times, and just some of the beliefs that people have,
Yeah.
for the whole spiritual and so-called religious experience of getting involved in yoga, which is that's funny in itself. But I mean, it sounds like a great opportunity for you too. And I think I can see that working. My biggest challenge I see is just the space that you're walking into and not knowing how to handle that. So, and the time involved just in planning that.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
to
I
be
think that is
that's-
it. Well, no, I mean, it's a great point. I mean, it's talk about community. You think about unique perspective for me. I live up here in the Northeast. Dad's all, Kara's been to my home. Dad's been here. Ashley, you haven't. There's a lot of small houses around here. And then I know back in where you guys are, you live in an area where there is more, I'll just be direct, there's more money. The houses are bigger. So I think about oh, I'd love to do that here. And then you'd go, I could see Ashley taking my call well, do you have the space? And I'm like, absolutely not. No, unless we just rotated people in different rooms. So I guess, do you guys see, if this takes off and you get, people are wanting to do this, is that a goal to open a facility where you can do these kinds of things? Or is it no, we really like the home thing. That's what we want to keep doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it both?
I think it's both. I think that right now, obviously, I think we would consider this grassroots, right? We're trying to build the community, trying to build our reach, also still trying to keep it accessible, while making a profit. Obviously, we have to survive and be able to do this. Right. We win the lotto, but so it is a business, and we need to make sure that we can, pay our vendors, pay ourselves, etc. But right now, I think obviously it's to bring this experience to educate, more of the community too, to show what wellness can look like and what wellness in a community element can look like. Because I do think sometimes also from what I've seen or heard, it can be intimidating, right? To go into a gym for the first time or into a yoga class for the first time. So if you're doing it with your friends and people that you're comfortable with, then you get this confidence. And then you meet this yoga teacher at this event and you're like, well, I really liked them. And they teach at this studio. So I'm going to go try that. I now know I took that element of that fear, a little bit away. And now I'm able to branch out into the community even more. Mm-hmm. So it's starting to ignite that awareness, right, with these groups. And then eventually, sure, we would love to have, a brick and mortar where we have this collective community coming together and have space. I think we're still, we do have a pulse on venues that are available. If a client came to us and said, I really want to do this, but hey, my house isn't an option. But I'm turning 40 and I want this to be my birthday party. We're aware of areas in Central Florida that would work for this. Yeah. So, and I think with some of our partners coming up as well, we are going to be doing some events not in homes, so at a bar studio or potentially a yoga studio or at a healthy kitchen, so just trying to show the diversity in the events as well. Our niche is in the home currently, but we can grow and expand kind of as needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I love the idea that you said, Ashley, just, you go to this thing with your friends and you do 45-minute yoga session. And then that said, it gives you that confidence to then say, all right, I can go to the studio because I don't feel silly. Because I am someone that for months, I'm like, I got to start doing yoga. And I'm like, well, where do I want to go? What studio do I want to go to? What type of yoga do I want to practice? Because I can't stand on my head, and I don't want to stand on my head, but I really want to stretch, so I really want to go to a place where I can, I'm feeling really old and 43 right now. So I love that idea and how you said it. Like, you come here and you just get that confidence to then reach out and go to that place. So I think that's really cool. And the other thing you guys have both said, and just being kind of mindful of how long we have you here, but I'm curious, you both talked about just learning about things and people being educated, or maybe Dad said that, like, you get educated about something and then that drives you to want to do something new. If you were to share for the listeners, what are some things you've read recently, listened to recently that would maybe motivate someone to want to do something like this? Like, oh, this sounds great. I read that book and this sounds like a really good way to actually do something with that knowledge I just gained.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I have listened to, probably read, there's obviously things I haven't read, but I've tried to inundate myself ever since our mom passed away in 2020 with, how do I not get Alzheimer's? How do I not get early onset Alzheimer's? We saw it. It was terrible. It was the worst. How do I not have that happen to me? How do I get to the point where my kids are not making those decisions that we made, right? And then that really goes, let me pause that for a second. That's the same as if someone's like, I don't want to get cancer. I lost my dad to cancer.
Right.
Or I lost my so-and-so, my mom to Parkinson's or heart disease or stroke or whatever. Yeah, whatever it is, right? We're all, I think, in that age where we've seen our parents, we've lost parents, we've lost friends, our parents have lost friends, where for me, I'm like grasping for control, right? Like, I'm coming back to that after mom died, like, how do I control the situation? And so for me, that's education, right? So like, that's where I start to listen to things that I can listen to. I got to say, shout out to Armchairy, right? We're Armchairies. Jamie, I think, got me started on Armchair. And I love that podcast.
Armchair expert. I'm out, Armchair expert.
Yeah, Armchair expert.
And really specifically experts on experts, where he brings in a lot of, psychologists, mental health, physical health, all of that. But yeah.
And those are the ones I actually like the most, are the experts.
Right.
And it's like, so we all knew who, Sanjay Gupta is. Well, he just had a huge documentary and he did the testing, and Sanjay has the APO genes. So he is positive for potentially getting Alzheimer's. He also interviewed, there's several like aging experts that they've come through, they've interviewed. How do you reverse this? How do you change your outcome, right? I listened to Peter Attia. I listened to Mark Hyman. I listened to, there's a ton. It's just like, anytime that I search Alzheimer's prevention, that's what I'm listening to. So,
got it.
I think for me, as I've listened to all of that stuff, my education and my outcome or my thought process has changed. It's changed where I think I have more control than I think. I have more control than I thought I did. And everything is pointing in that direction. Like, Alzheimer's, they're saying now, is type 3 diabetes. And we can control that. It is not like written in the sand for us that we have to end up with these awful diseases. So the education, that's a huge, and I think a really passionate part of this glow is that, yeah, it may just, it seems like, oh, it's yoga, or it seems like, it's electrolyte and magnesium drinks, or it's cold plunges, but everything that we're trying to put together has research behind it, is like science backed. We've like heard so many things about what a difference it makes in longevity. And so that's, I think, where, if that all makes sense, but that's kind of where the science and like when we read things and we listen to things, like I'm passionate about that. I have a little bit of, what's it called? Like, if I'm really qualified to talk about any of this, I'm not an expert on any of it, but I've found where other people listen to podcasts on something else, like I'm listening to the health podcast, like I'm listening to the brain health podcast, like that's what I'm always listening to, because I just want to know the science, and I want to know like how I can educate myself.
Well, I imposter syndrome is what you're thinking of, and don't worry, we all have that at some, we all have it at some point in our life. But I think, you are obviously one of my best friends, and you're always someone that I learn from. Even if, and you're like, hey, read this book, listen to this podcast. You don't pretend to be an expert, so don't ever worry about that. You share information, but, it was 5 months ago, Dad started, and Dad, we never really talked about what really triggered you to do this, but, to start really wanting to get back into being consistent in his working out, eating better. He's lost a significant amount of weight. He's maintained that through vacations. Mexico, Thanksgiving, and when, as his daughter, I get very excited about that, because, you want your parents around as long as you can have them. And you and Ashley, unfortunately, had to watch your mother go through that. So, I've always just been very happy that my parents have taken care of themselves, and everyone goes through their, you do good, you try. Lord knows I have. But when Dad said, I've started this thing and I'm losing weight. And again, as I know my parents are aging, it makes me feel really good that he's taking control of himself. And, I'll tell my mom, Dad's doing this because, I want my mom around, so I'm like, don't leave me with Kevo. So we got to make sure we're all on the same train, but, love you, Dad. But I was just going to share real quick, because I wanted to tell Dad about this, but Kara, you shared with me a couple months ago to read the book Good Energy. And I wanted to let you know that technically you're reading it if it's on Audible, right? Yeah. I think Dad and I have had this conversation. Can we say we read it if it's on Audible? Okay, we're all good with that. Well, Dad, you gotta listen to Good Energy on Audible. It's Dr. Casey Means, and it is just, it's like mind-blowing, but in a way where you're like, obviously, the things she says, you're just kind of like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it is about prevention and how to live your life in a way right now to avoid what these illnesses, these diseases that are plaguing Americans because of our food system and our habits. And it's very, very interesting. And I will say that listening to it, because it can get very scientific, I was actually glad I chose the Audible path, because I'm such a visual person or an auditory person that I was like, I don't know that I could actually read this book, but I sure can listen to it. So just a plug for that to Dad to check that out, because I know you're an Audible family.
Yeah,
yourself,
that book, you get in nerd out, man. You can nerd out. Book. That is some
big
serious science. And some of it went, okay, yep, but I got the gist of it for sure. I'm a public school teacher, and I see what my high school kids eat every morning, and it's like 70 grams of sugar, and you're like, oh my God, it's just bonkers, right? But it's just educating, and I try to just do little tips, like, hey, how about a little protein with that? How about this with that? That's all I can do, but that's just I think the educating side of it is just the more you know, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you'll appreciate this. We were at a hockey tournament all weekend, and poor Parker had to listen to Good Energy on the whole drive to Boston as he's on his iPad. Don't worry. And the next morning we were getting ready to leave for the rink, and I made him a peanut butter and banana sandwich. And I'm like, buddy, you gotta get some protein and get some carbs in here. We gotta You got to get some good energy in your body. And he's like, yeah. And I go, and why do we want good energy? And he just goes, cell generation. And I was like, that's right. So it was great.
Jamie's frozen.
Jamie's frozen.
I'm frozen. Trying to reconnect.
I was getting
Hold
some
on.
feedback through my headset. I don't know if any. Well, you don't have headphones on. I don't know if Jamie.
I was hearing a little feedback.
Yeah, something was going on. It just started not
Okay.
long ago. So
Can y'all hear me?
Did Kara
No.
freeze too?
her connection's been weak.
There it goes.
Her video
there it
has
is.
not been real good through most of it. So
Mine?
no, Kara's. You froze, James.
Oh my.
I saw that, which is wild because my internet was up all the way, but no worries. Well, I just wanted to plug that because I get so much of your knowledge you share with me, and I'm all about sharing the knowledge. So
Well, I gotta have you guys
Check
around
out
too,
Good Energy,
right?
yeah.
I gotta have all my people. I'm like, I need you, and
That's
I need
right.
you, and I need
That's
you.
where the
That's right.
community comes in. The community.
That's
we-
right.
we
We got a
gotta-
community of
Right
4
now.
started right here. There you go.
Yeah.
we got to
Yep.
keep that community.
Checks and
Well,
balances and support. You know.
Yep.
that's right. All right. Well, I guess let's end it with this for, share. How can people find you? Share with everybody, if you're interested. Obviously, this is a Central Florida launch right now, but for those there, we've got a lot of people in Florida that listen just from our background. But how can they find you guys?
Yeah, so we're really active on Instagram, which then connects, to Facebook because it's all connected. But they can find us at Glow Wellness Retreats, and they can also email us info@glowwellnessretreats.com, and the website should be, we're working on that, and that will be as well glowwellnessretreats.com. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the Instagram.
So we're really active on Insta.
Yeah,
You guys are killing it on the social game. You could definitely give Dad and I some tips, and you're doing a great job on social. That's for sure.
That's how I built my artist business, was through social media. That's one of the beautiful things. It's free, just takes time, right? But one of the things I love about it, we had a dry January community for January, and not everybody was in Orlando. And, they're like sending us pictures of their mocktails on Friday night, and we're like giving each other, high fives and, hey, what are you making? And things like that. So it's, even if you're not in Central Florida, like there's still a Glow community for you to join up with.
Yeah. And we're doing a monthly book club too. So, even if you're not in Central Florida, you can find the book that we're reading on social. And so that's another way to, come together in a community.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'll keep
that's
following
good.
for that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there was any, like just awareness time where people that are interested, like you had coffee talk or something on Saturday mornings to where you could at least talk about it. And
Karen and I talked about that as well, to to interview some of our experts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law.
And better yet, just a common meeting place, things usually start because people are meeting for coffee, and then the next thing you know, they've got Bible study going, and the next thing you know, they've got a bike riding group going. But it all starts off at coffee in the morning. And it was so funny. A week ago when I had Todd here and Rob, 2 employees in here, that we were doing a 2-day session, and I went down to Panera Bread and had breakfast being made for us and went to pick it up first thing in the morning at 7:00. And I go by that place a bunch, and there's never a car in their parking lot. But at 6:45 when I rolled in, that parking lot was freaking full. I mean, it was packed. You get out in there, and there's a group of men over here. There's a group of women over there. It was a gathering right there of just everybody meeting for coffee and a sandwich at 6:45 at the freaking Panera Bread. But it was hard to find a parking place, is my point. That's kind of crazy. But during the day, there's nobody there. But first thing in the morning, it's all there. It was kind of like the Table of Knowledge in Mount Vernon. Everybody would assemble at 6:30 in the morning, and if you were anybody in Mount Vernon, it was the guys' table where it was called the Table of Knowledge. You had to be you had to be invited to sit there. You could not just come sit.
You guys
Oh,
are
I like that.
talking
The
about
table
your
of
yoga
knowledge.
moves.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All
All
right.
right. Well, very interesting. Yeah. Very cool.
Well,
Thanks
Very
for
cool.
having
Best of
us.
success. Yeah. Let's get this
Thank
thing
you for-
moving for sure.
Thank you for being on. I'm so excited for you guys. I think it's a really cool idea. And like I said, I'm following y'all on social and keep sharing the virtual, the remote stuff. I mean, we're such a remote world now. That's really cool that you're trying to expand into that area too, like how you can touch people everywhere. So,
Ashley could even teach
Keep
a
touching.
virtual yoga class, Kev, if you.
well, I was thinking.
Oh
that
yeah,
we
there you
could-
go.
know.
That's
I was
cool.
thinking this. We could all join in from our home. I definitely got room for one mat in this
There you
little
go.
house, but
Little stretching.
We can. I
That's
mean,
about-
we can do it.
No handstand.
we could do it.
Yeah, no handstand.
No handstands.
It's all. Yeah, everything's. There's options. You can. It's. It's all what.
Nobody wants to see my butt up in the air. I can promise you that.
Oh Lordy.
I think I've seen it.
I'm sure you have a couple times. Yeah. All right. Well, ladies, thank you for joining us and appreciate the time. And until next time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the intro.
Thanks, girls.
And,
Yep.
appreciate talking
Good
to
seeing you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Take
Bye,
care. Take care.
y'all.
Hope to see you guys soon.
See you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. With so many podcasts out there, we are grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
And we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions, comments, and feedback to info@twoclicksinapod.com, and we might feature your message in a future episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social and head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full episode live and in living color. You can find us at 2 Clicks in a Pod. That's 2, as in the number, clicks in a pod.
Well, James, until next time, love you.
Love you too, Daddy.